Let's start discussing about the first type of conic section. That is, we are going to discuss about circle. Now, what is a circle? You guys know what is a circle. Of course you will know. You have done a lot of theorems on circles in geometry. So many problems were done in geometry. But then, what is the actual definition of a circle? Because when I say a circle, all of you can figure out one round shape like this. Of course, all of you know what's a circle. But what is the formal definition of how do you define a circle? Now, circle is defined as locus of a point which is moving in such a way that it is at a constant distance from a fixed point. Okay, so let's recap and let's try to do what it is. Now, locus in the means locus in the sense it's just a path, movement. Okay, locus meaning path. Locus of a point, that means path of a point, which is moving in such a way that it is always at a constant distance from a fixed point. So let's assume that you have a fixed point. Okay, some fixed point is there. So assume that you have a fixed point here. Let's call that point as O. Okay. Now from this fixed point, the object is moving in such a way, or the point is moving in such a way that it's always at a constant distance. In the sense, what you can do, wherever you take, here you take, here you take, here, anywhere you take, it's at a constant distance. Now, if you join all the points here, so you are going to get a circle. Don't you think this is how you define a radius? Radius is what? It's a, see, we say that radius is the distance between center and the circumference. But then, see, radius is that distance where the path of the point, however it is traveling, and the fixed point, the distance, that is the radius. So this is the formal definition of a circle. That is what? The locus of a point which moves in such a way that it is at a constant, or always it is at a constant distance from a fixed point. This is the formal definition of a circle. Okay. Now all of you know how a circle is written. I'm not going to look into that one. But now since we are looking into coordinate geometry concept, now assume that you have the x and y axis. We are not going for 3D as of now. We are just looking at the 2 dimension. So assume that you have x and y axis, something like this. Okay, now, so let's assume that you have a circle. So let's assume that we have a small circle here. Something like this. Okay, now for this particular circle, see what you have is that for this particular circle, what you have is that, so assume that we are going to have a center. Okay, so this is the center. Now this center, we'll call it as h comma k. Some point h comma k. Okay. Now the radius of this particular circle, we can call it as r. So the equation of this particular circle, which has a center, that means we are looking at the center of the circle is h comma k, and the radius of the circle is r. The equation of that circle becomes x minus h whole square plus y minus k whole square is equal to r square. This is the equation of the circle. Fair enough? H comma k is the center and r is the radius. Now, once you know the value of the center, or if you know the value of the radius, you can easily calculate what is the equation of the circle, or vice versa. That means if you know the equation, you can calculate the radius and the center, or the other way around. Okay, now this is how we define what is a circle. Fair enough? Now, suppose if the center is at origin, okay, circle whose center is at origin, then the equation is going to become x square plus y square is equal to r square, or x square plus y square is equal to a square. This is going to give us the equation of the circle at the center. Fair enough? Now, see, suppose if the question or whatever the concept is going to tell that you have a circle, and for that circle it is passing through, say, three different points. Find the equation of the circle. Or suppose if the equation says that, so for a circle, this is the center, this is the radius. Find the equation of the circle. We can do all these type of problems from the next video onwards.